I strongly believe that nowadays board games need to be not only good in gameplay, they need to have a great presence on the table. Aesthetics wise, they need to be awesome. Nowadays we have so many cool games that I really want my games not to play just well, not to have a great time, but I want them to look beautiful on the table. And the game that I'm going to present to you today is one of these examples, one bright example where aesthetics match gameplay, and both of them create something unique. The game is Tang Garden, which comes in this beautiful box. You can already see from the cover that the art is tremendous, but when you dig in and you open the box, you're going to discover within one of the most amazing tile-laying games out there. It's absolutely stunning. If you haven't seen any pics on the web, any photos or any videos on how this game looks like, I really invite you to see the video where I'm going to explain the rules down the road and where you're going to see how this game looks like from up close. Our approach is going to be a bird eye view from top to bottom, but of course when you sit down and you see them from an angle, all the nice 3D elements pop into life and give an extremely great presence on the table. It's not only about looks. This is a fairly simple tile-laying game which you feel like it's simple, but the way it scores and the scoring opportunities that it provides to you throughout the game and all the way to the end is truly amazing. You get to have tremendous replayability, lots and lots of different things to chase and different strategies and different ways to score points, and all of it popping it, coming together as a great, lively, colorful Tang Garden. I'm giving my opinion right away from the start, but I'm very excited about this game. I've played it several times so far and I had a blast with the 2-player count, with 3-player and with the 4-player, and I really enjoyed. I haven't tried the solo yet, but there is a solo mode for you to try as well. Simple rules, robust mechanics, and all of them around a very nicely done 3D presence and aesthetics. So join me on the table, I'll show you how the game looks, and we're going to come back at the end of this video for a quick opinion on the game. Let's see how Tang Garden works in practice. The Tang Dynasty is considered the first golden age of the classic Chinese garden. The emperor built a magnificent imperial garden, the Garden of the Majestic Clear Lake near Xi'an, and lived there with his famous concubine. Players take the role of engineers who have been summoned to build a garden while balancing the elements of water, rock and greenery. They need to decorate the garden with pavilions, bridges, different types of vegetation and animals such as birds and goldfish, and during the construction, characters will visit the garden to inspect how the natural elements are balanced and arranged, and admire of course the surrounding landscape. Let's see the components of the game and familiarize ourselves with what we have in front of us. First of all, this is an advanced stage of the game. I'm leaving it like that so that you can have a glorious look on the majestic, beautiful look of Tang Garden. It's absolutely stunning, amazing production, amazing looks. This is a game that both looks great and plays awesomely. So what we have in front of us is the main board, which is this one, is a grid. It has 4 corners where we put the 4 different type of tiles depending on the different background. We have greenery, we have lakes, etc. And you can see that all of the tiles here are of the same type and they are stacked on their respective spot, which matches this decoration, this terrain type. They're always facing down. We only put facing up the top one, so it should be like that. Same goes for all piles, only the first one is facing up. This is like that. And these are going to be inserted in the main grid in order to make the terrain for the garden. Next, what we have in front of us is the double-sided main central terrain tile, which is actually 2x2 grid. It is double-sided, of course. You can select which side you want and you can place it on this specific central location in order to begin your garden. This is the only first tile you're going to have at the beginning of the game. We have various types of decoration. Actually, there are quite a lot of decorations, 36 in total. We have pavilions, which look like that. You can see them here. We have different types of trees which look like that, and they give, this is the top bird's eye view, and you can see that they look gorgeous, but if you see them from an angle, you will really appreciate the 3D elements and the great aesthetics of these decorations. Of course, we also have some bridges where characters can stand on, and different type of goldfish, flowers, swans and birds that are used to decorate the different locations. We're going to see how this works. Next, we have 8 large landscape tiles, which are these here. We make a pile with all of them, revealing the first one. They're not actually they're double-sided, and they have the same icons from both sides, just that you have only the first one on the pile that you can see the icons. And we also reveal one, so we have the pile with the one on the top revealed, and one more which is on in front of it. So we'll have 2 options to choose from. We also have 12 small landscape tiles, which are here, exactly with the same idea. These will be located and inserted throughout the game around the 4 directions of the main board. The big ones go like this one in the 2 back positions, here and here, on each of the sides, either here or here or here. And there are 3 slots for the small decorations in front of them. The characters and the players can see all of the icons in like a 3-dimensional site. Now, we have the first player, the first engineer token, which is this one, because we use it to keep in track who started, so the game is going to end so that all the players have the same amount of turns, so it is fair for everyone. And also we have 8 large landscape tokens and 8 small landscape tokens. You can differentiate them because the large ones have this sunset icon, and the small ones have this one like that. The way these are arranged for the game it's actually very simple. You just make a diamond shaped like that. It is depicted in the rulebook. I have already taken some of those because I already placed some of the tiles, but you can make like a diamond shaped arrangement of those locations as depicted in the rulebook. The next thing that we're going to find in the game, of course, are some characters. We have 12 character miniatures and the respective 12 character cards. Here is the pile with the deck of character cards. These 2 are open to make an offer. We already have 2. Each player is going to start with 1 personal player board, which has the 3 elements that we need to balance: water, greenery and rocks. And there are 3 tracks. As these cubes move down, they depict how well are you balancing the elements of nature. You have 4 lanterns that you put on the back, on the top, on the bottom place of your personal board, facing up. This is the face down used exhausted side. We put them face up. I'm going to explain them in a bit. Each player is going to get 1 character to begin with. The characters have the name. This is the poet. They have a respective color and a miniature. This is easy to differentiate your mini from the color base. They have different color bases and they're different postures. This is the poet. Very nice minis. Okay. The starting characters have a square with one of the 3 elements of the nature here. That means that you get to start with +1 already from the beginning of the game here, because I picked up this character, my starting character. And here's the ability that the character has, as long as the mini is on there and not placed on the game board. And this is the end game score. I'm going to come back to it. For the moment, when you have a character, you just keep it on the mini on the character to indicate that you have the ability enabled, because you haven't placed it yet in. These are on top of my player board, but keep in mind this is for all of the players. This is the main offering, the market, the deck, and always there are 2 to choose from when you're influencing a character down the road. Now, the last thing that we need to discuss, we have some coins here which are also victory points, and a deck of decoration cards which will be the main source of inserting decoration in the game, with all these beautiful things that they're going to go and fit in your Tang Garden. Now we're ready to start. Let's talk. I have positioned the minis around the table just for visual effects. You can put them wherever you want, just to squeeze everything in the video. Let's see now how the game starts. The first thing that we need to do is we need to place 1 of the 16 small decorations already in these slots. So they start with 1 of the decorations inserted. I have already put some in this position here. So they start with 1 here, 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 and here. Again, this is advanced stage of the game. I just left it for you so that you can see how it looks like and it will be easier for me to explain, but it is pretty empty. You only have the central piece and the starting decoration at the beginning placed. Then you're ready to start. How the order of play goes. Starting with the first player and proceeding in clockwise order, each player takes a turn, and each turn consists of a mandatory main action and 3 possible optional actions. The main action, which is always mandatory, you have to do it, is either to build the garden or place a decoration. And I'm going to go in a couple of more words in explaining each of those in detail so you get a full grasp of how you make your main action. But then keep in mind that you can do afterwards optionally influence a character. After the main action, the player may influence a character if they have reached the required level on the player board. And I'm going to explain how this level works here. You can optionally use one of the lanterns, and I'm going to explain them. And of course, optionally, if one of your lanterns is exhausted, you can refresh it with a specific process, which I'm going to explain. Now, let's move back to the main action, which is the core of the game. On your turn, you have to do one main action, mandatory. One, that should be either to build the garden by taking one of the tiles and connecting it to one pre-adjacent tile on the board, pre-placed tile on the board, or you can select a decoration and place a decoration. That is very, very simple, either one or the other. Okay, let's say you select to build the garden. The active player chooses one face-up garden tiles from the top of one of the 4 stacks in the corners of the garden board and places it in one of the available spaces on the board. I have 4 options, 1, 2, 3, 4, and of course at the beginning I only have this central tile, so I'm going to have to position it close to one of those by placing it. Very simple. The way you place it is the place tile you have has to be adjacent to a tile already on the garden board, so it cannot be on its own. For example, I cannot take it and put it here. Diagonal is not considered adjacent, needs to touch one of the previous placed tiles. The terrain types on all of the edges of any adjacent tiles must match. Some tiles have a wall, and this is an exception, the red one. Let me show you a wall up close. Yeah, there it is. This is a wall, looks like some kind of red bricks. This is an exception. All the rest of the tiles need to match when you're placing a tile. So if I place it like that, this does not match, this is invalid, because it is forest with lake. But if I place it like that, this is forest with forest, this is valid. If I'm touching more than one edge, I need to ensure that all the edges match the terrain respectively. So I need to be careful when I do that. Keep in mind that the terrain types on all of the edges have to be adjacent with the exception of the wall. After placing the garden tile, I examine the newly placed tile and collect rewards based on the following criteria. I advance the cube for the corresponding element here on my player board for each edge that matches the terrain tile of any adjacent tiles. Here, for example, I matched greenery with greenery, so I would go and move the greenery cube one upwards on the track. If by my placement, for example, if I was placing, let's say, where we have 2 scenery, if I was placing this one right now and I was matching both this greenery and that greenery, I would move 2 greenery up the track. If I was matching 1 greenery and 1 rock, like for example here, by placing this tile, the first time I place it, I matched this rock and this greenery, so I would move 1 green and 1 yellow for the rock. The same goes with the lake, which stands for the blue terrain. Very simple. For each edge that I match the terrain, I move upwards on the respective track. In addition to that, keep in mind that terrain is considered enclosed when a greenery, water or rock region is completed and can no longer be added or expanded by placing new tiles. If a terrain becomes enclosed as a result of my placement of the new tile, in addition to my advancements on the respective elements for matching edges, I also advance one more on the matching enclosed terrain. So, if for example here I put this tile there, I match the lake, so I will advance 1 for the lake, but since I completely enclose this lake, I would advance 1 more. So this is the way it works. Now keep in mind that walls that we have seen here are considered to be used to enclose terrain, and you can use them to enclose different terrains and complete them. But also, if terrain goes to the edge of the garden board, it is not considered enclosed. So if it continues water all the way to the edge, it does not consider to be enclosed, and you need to be careful not to waste an opportunity to enclose a terrain like that. Last but not least, you gain a coin if one edge of the newly placed tile matches a footpath. You need to be a bit careful with the footpaths, because here, for example, you can see, you need to see up close, here one side has a lake, but all the rest of the 4 sides have a half of a pathway. This is a pathway, this is a pathway, and this is a pathway, stone pathway. So by actually placing it here, I would advance 1 for matching the lake, another one for enclosing the lake, so 2 for the blue that I got here, and 1 coin for each path that I match. This is 1 coin here, so I advance, I also get 1 coin. Of course, I can get different things by matching different terrain types and different footpaths, and in any case, if I manage to, by my positioning, match 2 footpaths, let's say for example, yes, here, I position this one here, and we have a footpath here and a footpath here. If I match at least 2 footpaths, then I can either get 2 coins or advance on any of the levels I wish on this track as a bonus. And that's it. It's a very simple placement. You're trying to maximize the terrain types that you match in order to advance in many tracks, get a lot of coins, which actually are victory points at the end, and progress smoothly. Okay, this is very, very simple. So coming back to my mandatory selection for my main action, I can either place 1 tile or make a decoration. But before moving to the decoration, I need to say something last about the placement of garden tiles. You have noticed that there are some here landscape tiles, as I described during the setup. I have already taken some out because it's an advanced stage of the game, but again, this is a diamond shape. When I'm placing a tile, by placing so, if I manage to, let's say, put this one here to cover one of these tiles, then I would get to select one of the small landscapes, because it's a small landscape, either from the pile, the top one, or this one, and position it in any of those areas around the board, because my idea would be that I want my characters to see specific icons and get victory points at the end. I will explain later on. And I keep this in front of me here. So every time I cover one of those, and I need to cover them to get those decorations, I get to put either small or big decorations, depending on if I covered a big or a small landscape, respectively, with my tile placement. And that's the important thing of making the 3D decorations around, around the board, and making them with specific icons for your characters. We'll come back to the scoring at the end. Now, what is also important is that after completing a build the garden action, if there are less than 2 face-up garden tiles on the board, we have to flip the top tile of each stack so that 4 tiles are face-up for the next player. So here, let's say I place, this is also placed, and this is also placed. When I have less than 2, by placing this tile on the board, I have less than 2, I have only 1, then at that stage I need to open all the tiles, the tile stacks with a new offering, so that the next player will have more options, and this is the way this works and loops itself. Very simple. Now, coming back to my main selection, either I place a garden tile or I select a decoration. Oh, before moving to the decoration, one more thing I forgot, sorry, are those 3 special tiles. Let's explain them. This is very simple. This is the semi-antique rock temple. It's a brown wall. You gain 1 coin plus 1 coin for each adjacent rock edge. So you're looking for these tiles to get more coins from this tile. The same goes for this tile, which is actually the Huating flower temple. It's a green wall. It is considered a green wall. You see, it encloses all different areas because it has the wall, but it's green. But also, you gain 1 coin plus 1 coin for each adjacent greenery edge. And last but not least, the Huating Lotus Temple, blue wall. It gains 1 coin plus 1 coin for each adjacent water edge. These are special gardens garden tiles that you get to enclose with them different areas, but also keep in mind these are all with this pack, so they come all from this stack here. You can also get coins if you later on place a new garden tile and it touches one of those edges. Now, at least I can go back to my second option for my main action, which is place a decoration. The active player draws. If you select to place a decoration, you're not placing a garden tile, okay? This is clear. Now, these are the decoration cards with this back, and if you select to place a decoration, the active player draws 2 cards, so you get to draw 2 cards, plus 1 card for each of the non-revealed tiles on the corners. So if I was drawing a decoration now, I would only draw 2 because all of them are revealed. But if, for example, this was not revealed because someone took a landscape garden tile before me, if I was now an active player and I was choosing to do a decoration, I would draw 2 plus 1 3 plus 1 4. So I get 2 every time, plus 1 card for each face down tile on top of each of the 4 garden piles. The player then examines the drawn cards, chooses one of them to decorate the garden and places the decoration on the garden and the card next to him because it's going to give them some victory points at the end. The remaining cards go to the discard pile. Keep in mind that the idea of selecting more decoration cards is that you have more options to choose from when you are picking a decoration and not just the blind 2 from if all the stacks are revealed. Now, the decoration cards all have the same anatomy. You have the name of the card, these are birds. You have the location where you are placing this decoration, so this would be a bird, this would be one of those decorations. This is a bird token. This is where I'm going to place it when I select this decoration. I need to find this icon. For example, this icon is here. I can put it here or here. And this is the end game scoring opportunity, which I'm going to explain later on. But some cards also have one-time bonus, like this one, which will give you the ability to advance in this track by 1 and moving your cube 1 down this track, like that. They all have the same anatomy. It is as you can see here, like that. So the idea of all of this is that you gain more specific decoration and put them on the board because you need to have scoring opportunities. The selected decoration card is going to be placed next to you, so you can see what you're targeting to aim, and all the rest are you can see what you're aiming for. So let's have a word about the decorations. This card, if you have it on its own, it gives you 0 points, but if you match it with a fish, a bird and a fish pair, it gives you 6 points, and this is for each card like that. The same goes for this lotus card. On its own it doesn't give point, but the pair gives 6. The pair of these specific ones, not a pair of 2, you need 1 fish and 1 bird in order to get 6 points. The bird itself gives 0. Same goes for different pairs. Let's see the next one. This is a pavilion. If you have the most pavilion decoration cards, these are the pavilions, you get 12 victory points. The second one gets 6. And again, if you select this decoration, obviously you just place this decoration in one of the locations. The locations to place this decoration is this icon, and you can find it in specific spaces on rockery scenery, so you place it like that. Next we have the trees. For each different tree decoration card you get points. If you have only one, if I only had one, I was getting 1 victory point. If you had 2 different trees, I'm going to get 4 points, all the way to 25 points for different tree cards. And of course, I'm placing the corresponding tree on the greenery location as it shows here, so it goes on the spots here. Last but not least, we have the bridge. If you have a bridge, it gives you 2 points for each bridge that card you have in front of you. You get 1 bonus of it on any of those that you choose, and it is placed on specific. You can see that the icon of the bridge is here, but it makes sense that it needs a bridge because it has the foundation to receive a bridge decoration. 2 points for each bridge decoration card. And these are essentially all the different type of cards that you have and the different opportunities. By selecting to decorate the garden, you have extra victory points for the end game scoring, but also you modify how the Tang Garden terrain would look like, and this will give, in conjunction with your abilities, if you have a character with a diamond shape instead of a circle, additional victory points at the end, and we're going to see how at the final scoring. Now, the next thing that I want to discuss is the optional actions, because we concluded the main action is either place a tile or place a decoration with the decoration cards here. Now, after your main action, you may choose to influence a character if you wish. Each player begins the game with a character and may take advantage of their starting skill during their turn. To influence a new character, the player must have advanced each of their 3 cubes to a new required character level, meaning, remember we all start by here, and above this there is an icon with 1 character, that's why we start with 1 character. By moving this track, it doesn't matter that this blue reached the character icon, all 3 of them need to reach the next threshold, and then we have the opportunity to influence 1 more. The next step would be when all of them pass or surpass this barrier, and then we get to influence a 3rd one, etc. When we get to influence a character, we choose and take one of the 2 revealed cards here. Alternatively, the player may draw a face down card from the deck and then take the corresponding character miniature from here. All the minis are seen around the board. And the player then selects one of their characters and places its corresponding miniature on the garden board on the specific character spots, either on a garden tile, a bridge decoration, or a pavilion decoration, and then turn the character miniature so that it's facing one of the 4 cardinal directions. This is very important, and this has to do with the way we score points. So I can either, let's say I passed or matched this 2nd level, so I need to get to influence a 2nd character. I can take either of 2. Let's say I take this one. I'm not moving it, just for the benefit of video. Let's say this was mine, and I also have another one here. I can select each of those now, either this newly acquired or the previously one, and take the mini and put it in one of the spots. The spots are, they can be either on a bridge or on one of these locations, which you can see the specific icon. It's the same icon actually printed on the bridge, or within 1 pavilion. As you can see, they can go inside the pavilion. And again, what is important, very important, is that you have to decide which way they're facing. So if I'm positioning it like that and it's facing this direction, it sees this direction. If I'm placing it like that, it sees this direction. If I'm placing it like that, it sees that direction. And if I'm placing it like that, this direction. Okay, so I need to, at the placing, decide which side, left, right, up or down, it's facing, and this is important too. The main driving force for this is that the player earns coins for each character on the garden board at the end of the game, based on their position and their direction that they're facing, taking into account the character's side preference. Let me describe about the preference. Let me show you, for example, this card. This card has a diamond shape here. This is the ability. We forget about it for the moment. This is always in place as long as you have the mini before. So if I didn't place it in the board and I was here, the ability is always on. If I place it on the board, I lose the ability, and I only have the ability for the minis that I have, the cards that I have influenced, and I have the mini on the card. But once they go on the garden, then I forget about the top ability. I'm going to come back then later when I explain an example. But let's focus now on the bottom, which is the end scoring opportunity. If they have a diamond shape, they score victory points for the terrain decoration, for the influence of the terrain in front of them. And I'm going to explain in an example. But if they have a circle here, they score victory points for their icon preferences on the landscape they're seeing at the end of the edges. But, and here where is the facing cam is important. If I had this guy, let's say it scores the Emperor scores 5 victory points for each dragon symbol. Let's say we had a dragon symbol here and this is the Emperor, which is not. If he's facing like that, he sees a dragon, 1 or 2 dragons depending how many icons you have placed, and gets the respective victory points. If he's facing like that, you forget about that. You only care about the side that you're facing. So facing is really, really important here. Now, keep in mind that if the player chooses one of the revealed character cards, from here, we need to take it, takes the card in front of him, and then you reveal a new one and place the respective mini there on top of the card. Now, This is very important because, as I said before, you only get to use the abilities throughout the game of the characters that you have not placed yet on the Tang Garden mainboard and you still have the mini on it. So it's not located here, it is sitting on your card, then you have the ability to use the ability of the character. This one, for specific the poet, it gives you a coin, essentially victory point, each time you progress on one of these. So if I progress here, I will get one extra coin from here. Interesting. And different abilities give different opportunities throughout the game. Now, the next thing I want to mention is the coins here, because we said that when all three of them reach or surpass a character icon, you get to influence one more character, as we have seen. When one tier, let's say the blue cube, reaches this 2 coins symbol, then you get to take 2 coins. You don't need to have all 3 of them reaching. Each time a cube is reached, of these 3 cubes is reaching the 2 or surpassing the 2 coins icon, you get 2 coins for blue, for green and for yellow. It's not like with the characters that all 3 of them need to be here in order to get the benefit. Here you get it every time each cube comes here. And the same goes here. If this comes here, you're going to get 5 points and 5 coins and another 5 coins and another 5 coins. Okay, very, very simple. Now, we've seen the first optional move, which is to influence a character. The next optional move is to use a lantern. Very simple. You just select one of your lanterns which are face up and you use it, and then you turn it facing down. Let's explain the options here. Very simple. This one shows 2 cards, decoration cards. When taking the place decoration action, the player places 2 decorations from the cards drawn, gaining the one-time bonus for both cards. Here not only 1, you get to select 2. Same goes with the tiles. When taking a build the garden action, the player places 2 garden tiles, scoring both, and both garden tiles must be placed must be face up at the beginning of the turn, so you don't get to refresh. This one with the character and the umbrella, basically the player moves one of their characters on the garden board to any available spot, adjusting the facing if desired. For example, if I screwed up because this one was facing, let's say, here and nothing happened, then maybe I can, using this lantern, take it and put it on another specific location like that. Keep in mind, when I'm influencing a character, I need to have a spot like that available to place it. If I don't have, I'm getting one of those tokens to remind me that I can do it later on another turn of mine before I reach the next threshold, and I can expand it to do it at that point because there were no spaces. But if there are spaces, I have to select one of those and locate him. By this lantern, coming back to the lantern, I can take it and put it on another position and change the facing as well to give me more scoring opportunities because of the decorations or what the character is looking for VPs. And the last lantern is this one. When influencing a new character, the player may choose a specific character from the character deck instead of taking one of the face-up ones and then shuffling the deck after making the selection, or during placement of the landscape tile, the player may choose any of the non-visible tiles and then shuffling the stack after making the selection. So you get to choose from the whole stacks. Very interesting. Remember, when you use your lantern, you just flip it like that. Finally, you can only use one lantern per turn, not more than one. Finally, the third optional choice at the end of your turn, if you wish so, is to refresh a lantern. During the turn, a player may spend 3 landscape tiles of the same size. This is small landscape and this is large landscape. You have to spend 3 of the same type in order to refresh one of your lanterns and potentially make it available for another turn for you to use so. In a 2-player game, you need to spend 4 of those. The end of the game is very simple. It is triggered when there are 3 or fewer landscape tokens left on the garden board, or when one of the 4 piles of the garden tiles, here, here and here, is depleted. The game continues until the player to the right of the player with engineer token takes their turn, so that everyone had the same amount of turns and the game is fair to everyone. Then we proceed to final scoring. We count the coins obtained during the game and then we add coins for the awarded decoration cards as we have seen, 6 coins for each single pair of lotus and peony cards, 6 points for each single pair of birds and fish cards. The player with the most pavilion gets 12 points and the player with the second most gets 6 points. Essentially, I'm just referring to what I've shown you before from those decoration cards, the scoring opportunities at the bottom. You gain 2 victory points for each bridge card, and you gain also coins from your characters. From all your characters that are on the board, you gain for each decoration in the line of sight of each player's characters 1 victory point. For example, if this guy was sitting, let's say here, this is not a spot, let's say here, he's sitting here and he's facing like that. He sees 1 decoration, 2 decorations, so he gets 2 victory points. So regardless of your choice, which could be either diamond or circular, and I'm going to come back with an example at the end of this explanation, every time you have a decoration in front of you, you get 1 point. So here, 1, 2. Then you get victory points based on the character's sight preference, which actually is the circle or diamond shape that I mentioned here, and the below explanation, either for Poet or the Emperor, whichever one you have. Once you have done that, you get each character's sight preferences listed in the character card, but you can also find it on the rulebook, and may include the line of sight if they have the diamond eye icon, or the active landscape if they have the eye icon inside the circle icon. The active landscape is composed of 5 landscape tiles, 3 small and 2 large, slotted in the side of the garden in the direction that the character is looking. And then once you sum up all of these victory points, the player with the most victory points is the winner of the game. In case of the tie, the player with the most landscape tokens among the tile players is the winner, and if the tie persists, the player with the most cubes in the furthest position down the tracks on the player board among the tile players is the winner. If the tie continues to persist, all the tile players share the victory. It's highly unlikely all these tiebreakers are broken. So this is how you score victory points. So the last thing I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you 2 examples of how these different characters score victory points based on the side preference, which is at the bottom. This is the Emperor with a circular sign preference. He gets to score 5 victory points for each dragon icon if he was the Emperor and he was, let's say, seeing this side with this positioning. If he had 2 icons on these 3D boards of landscape with a dragon symbol, which is this one, you could get for 2 times 5, 10 victory points. You can get depending on how many icons you have, and each character has specific combination of requirements. If you have the diamond shape like this one, this character gets 2 victory points if she is actually the Poet, which is this one. So let's say this character was sitting here and was facing again here, but she has this diamond requirement. She doesn't care about what's here, the symbols on the board. She still gets 1 victory point for each decoration. So if, for example, here it had a pavilion, she would still get 1 victory point. This is regardless of your sighting preference. But she would get 2 victory points for each garden tile with a lake in front of her, to a maximum of 10 victory points. So she would get 2 for this tile, and 2 for that, 4, and 2 for that, 6 victory points, and so on and so forth, up to a maximum of 10 victory points. So the guys with the diamond shape tile preference sightseeing, they want to have specific type of terrains in front of them in the line of sight, in front of them, the way they're looking. The guys with the circular sightseeing preference, they need to see different sightseeing circles, icons on the back of the board. This is how the final scoring is performed, and this is how the game plays. The game offers also an additional solo mode with specific different rules, which I'm going to leave for you to explore, but this is also a valid option, an interesting one. And this concludes the video on how all the rules of how you need to set up, play and score Tang Garden for you. Wow, truly wow. I'm a very big fan of great looking games, and this is one of the best eye candy games I have seen out there. Not only it pops into life with the 3D elements, but the exceptionally well done approach to the detail, to the colors, to the selection of the materials, even the cardstock that they have used in most of the cases where it is very robust, I think it's black ore, for pavilions and trees, really comes together. It is a game that the publishers and the developers, I don't know them, but it sure looks like that they have spent a lot of money, attention and hours trying to get the best choices for their product, for their game. But I don't care for all of that because I'm a gamer, and what I really enjoy is my games to play fun. I like to have a great time playing the game, and I like to enjoy the game while I'm playing it. So I always go back to the way the games look. I don't care if a game plays absolutely amazing, if it looks horrible. I want them to be both 100%, and this is a great example where this happens. Now the mechanisms in this is of course tile placement and it's tiling game, but it has set collection, it has various ways to score victory points depending on the facing of your characters. It has even 3D minis for the characters, which is completely over the top. They could have gone with just tokens, but they went with minis. The most beautiful thing is the way the garden comes into life, and it really looks like a Tang Garden by the completion of your session and when you finish your game session. Absolutely amazing, plays fast, plays extremely well with 2 or 3 players and 4 as well. I haven't tried with 1, and overall it's a great, satisfying experience. One of the most beautiful, highly enjoyable, fun games out there, and this is Tang Garden.